Whatcha? Today we are going to talk about how to edit the Joomla registration email that gets fired out. So it is basically a language override. So let me take you through how we do that. So we're in the Joomla backend and we go into extensions and then we go to languages. One second, I'll just turn on my pointer. And then we're going to overrides. And then we're going to create a new one. And what we're looking for is com users. Email registered would be the constant. So if you remember from our other video, no, you probably won't remember that because you might not have seen it. There's another video we talk about language overrides. So there's two parts to it. There's a constant, which is the bit you put into Joomla so it knows which one to pick, and there's a value, which is the bit that Joomla will fire out the other end. So in this case, we'll do a search for the constant because that's the part we know, because I've told you it. So it's com users email registered. And what you'll see is that there's a few of them. So there's email registered body no password, no PW. So let's maybe put a magnifying glass on for you guys. So here, email registered body no password, email registered notification to admin body, so that's the admin one. Email registered with activation body, so that means in the options of the users you have to choose that they must click a link to activate it, and another one, activation with no password, and again registered admin with the activation, and registered admin activation with no password. So basically it's all of the different options that you can get in the user options, which I'll show you in a minute. So let me just talk you through this initially. So here's what you get at the other end. There's a magnifier. So you get hello %s /n/n. Thank you for registering at %s /n/n. You may now log in to %s using the username and password you registered with. So let's talk about what's going on here. So %s is actually a variable. So it's going to say hello and then your name, and then it's going to thank you for registering at, and then it's going to have the site URL, and then it's going to have the site name. I think it has the site name and the site URL there. So if we now look at a different one, so this one. So now if we look at this one, we see that you may log in to %s using the following username and password. Username %s, password %s. So the double ends is new line. So that would just be 2 breaks basically to make a new line. So basically make one new line and then make another new line to make a gap, a space between paragraphs if you like. So that's how you do the override. It's a bit of a shame because it's only a text override, so you can't really put HTML in there in Joomla 3. In Joomla 4 you will be able to. But let's talk about what's going on here. So I'm going to switch over to my my code editor, and I'm going to go into the registration part of Joomla. So at the moment I'm in components, and then I'm in com users. So components, com users, and then I've gone to models, and then in models I have gone to registration.php. So that's the file you need to go in. Obviously you don't want to edit this file because it is it's a core file, right? So you don't really want to be editing it because it will get overridden potentially by a Joomla override. So you need to find all the different parts in here which are basically saying set a password, don't set a password, and pick your particular configuration. So in this case, I know that I am setting a password and the username, and I don't require activation. So if I go down and I look for password, that would be a good start. So this one is saying that if send password, so we're getting a sent password. You see that it sends the password in this part. It's got the site URL, the site name, the name, username, and if it's not sent password, then it'll do this one without the password. So these are the %s's that you're talking about. So if I now show you some, where's the Joomla documentation? Oops, haven't got it there. Nope, haven't got it there. Joomla docs sprint f is what we're looking for. So if we have a look on here, it actually talks us through what these %s's are. So in the example here, it says donations of, and then a variable, and then GBP, and then have been received. So all of this is to do with translation, so you can have it multilingual. And as the point that it makes is, you may say donations of £10 has been received, but you might want to change that to say you have received donations of £10. So it's a slightly different area. So if we look at what they tell you, they give you examples of what all these different variables mean. So if we look at the percent, it's a percent character, and if we look at the S, the argument is treated and presented as a string. So we know that it's bringing out strings, and all it's going to do, if we look at our override, we've got 1, 2, 3, and they're all 4, and they're all %s. So all it's going to do is go through in the order that it receives them and just put them in that order. So if we now go back to our code and registration, we're going to see it's name, site URL, username, and password clear. So there's 5 there. So it should have 5 here, I suspect. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So again, that will come out as name, site URL, username, password. So if we look here, we can say the username and password is at the end. So we know that's name, and site URL. So that's how you understand what's being outputted. You will also see in the document, so if you go down, it teaches you how to swap the arguments around. So if we look at this part, we can see that in fact we can do % and then a number and then $s. So for example, if we wanted to put the second one first, we would do %2 and then %1 is the second one. So that's effectively how you do the language override. So if you look in one that we've created quite a long one here, but we've done %1 and then %4, so we wanted things in a certain order. Loads of new lines, so we spread things out, and then it's all just a big bunch of text basically. It's a real shame that you can't do HTML, but Joomla 4 is on the horizon and you will be able to there. So I'm going to cancel out of this because I've done my override in the ini file. I'll just take you to users to explain what all those options were. So options is in the top right. You can't see it because of my logo, but I've just clicked it. So here we've got allow new user registration. Obviously that has to be on for this to work at all, unless you register them manually in the back end. And then send password. So if you're not sending the password, then that obviously won't send. And send to administrators, it won't send that other language string we saw, which is an administrator's one. That'll only come if you've got send to administrator yes. And then you have options on new user account activation. So self would mean that they have to click on the link, so that's how that is, and the administrator has to do it to register them. So that's where you're getting all these options for, and that's why in the languages you see so many different variants for the registered part. So constant. Excuse me. So this is why you've got the body with no password. So if you're not sending a password, it won't have it. And with activation, would have the activation link. So that's basically how you do it. Sorry, I was a bit rambly today on that one. I'm quite tired, but I hope you get the idea now, and I hope you come up with some ideas yourself on how to customize Joomla, even the registration process in your own way. Thanks for listening. Please do subscribe. I'll be bringing more tutorials out soon, 100 videos in 100 days. And please do like us on all of our social media. Quick recap on what they are. We've got Facebook, we've got Twitter, we've got YouTube, obviously, because you're watching it, and we've got Instagram as well somewhere, if you don't post on often enough. And of course, you can come to our website if you have any questions. Hope that helps. Catch you later.